It is 10 a.m. Great to be with you on 11Alive Plus. For the next hour here from the 11Alive Streaming Center, we have built this place for you so we can bring you streams from around the nation and around the world, breaking news as it happens, and that's exactly what we're doing this morning, including what you're looking at here, the Board of Commissioners meeting out of Dekalb County, a press conference with the foreign ministers of Israel and Germany. We're listening in to the leaders of those two nations speaking right now. We'll bring you any big developments from there, and stocks at their session lows nearing down 300 for the Dow this morning as the world continues to await anxiously any news from the war in Iran. But now back here at home, let's talk about the weather and the day ahead. Chesley, looking at a little bit of a warm-up?
Yes.
Nice.
I know you like the 80s, so they're coming back to us by tomorrow. We won't see a whole lot of sun, but the southerly winds will help to push those temperatures up above the 80-degree mark. But then
it's going down.
It's going down.
For real.
Yeah, thanks to a front that's going to come through the area, and it will cool the temperatures back down closer to where they should be for this time of year. We should be in the low 60s, believe it or not. We've been spoiled. And that will continue at least for today and tomorrow. You'll notice the clouds are pushing out of the area, have a few isolated sprinkles up to the far north, so we're going to find that. Our temperature today will be in the upper 70s to around 80 degrees. Not bad at all. You'll notice the rain building back off to the west of us over into the Dallas, Texas area. That is where severe weather will start to pop up once again this afternoon, thanks to that front that's going to push in. That front's not on that map yet, but it will move in and then eventually move toward our way as well, and that's what's going to help to cool us down. But also bring in another round of showers and thunderstorms. That won't arrive here until the wee hours of the morning on Thursday. We're going to catch a break this afternoon and Wednesday from the rain, and then even behind that front, we dry it out, and will be a nice weekend on tap as our temperatures will gradually start to warm back up. See those two tan areas there? So you have one just to the west of Dallas, and then up toward Chicago, just to the north of St. Louis. Those are level 3 threats for severe weather, an enhanced risk for severe weather, which is where tornadoes are likely for today. And so you'll be hearing about these storms. Surrounding that is the yellow area, which is a level 2 threat. That extends our way as we head into Wednesday night. Going into Thursday is where we could see some of those thunderstorms make it into our state. Right now, a level 1 threat for severe weather, or a marginal risk, which means isolated strong to severe thunderstorms are possible in our area. And again, that will be timing for that. It'll be like 1 o'clock in the morning through about, I'd say about 4 o'clock in the morning. Here's how it plays out. Forecast track model shows today, at least, that rain threat going away from us. It will be about a 30% chance or less as we head into the afternoon. So we'll be watching for that. As we head through the day, further into the afternoon, we'll see sunshine around the area before more clouds move back in as we head through the overnight tonight. We'll say a mix of sun and clouds for much of the day on Wednesday. Should be on the dry side. Again, after midnight is when we're expecting or anticipating this line of showers, thunderstorms to come down to our area. A lot of it falling apart as it moves in, thanks to the timing, but should be out of the way by the time we get to 9 o'clock. 12 o'clock certainly out of the way. Those northerly winds will be around, and so it's going to cool us down. We go from 83 degrees for a high temperature on Wednesday down to 61 for the high on Thursday, staying in the 60s for Friday, but quite comfortable under mostly sunny skies. Back to the 70s over the weekend, 76 on Saturday, Sunday 78 for the hunger walk, going to be nice, and then the rain comes back to us as we head into the beginning of next week with 60 for the high by Monday.
Average this time of year?
64.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're kind of all over the place right
now. Yeah. We've been spoiled, and typically for us around this time of year, if it gets warm, we want it to stay that way, but typically in March, we hit these dips.
Sure.
Now, once we get to April, May, yeah, it's over.
Moving on to warm air.
You got
Chesley,
it.
thanks. Yep. All right, let's get to some breaking news. Just within the last 15 minutes, we've been able to confirm the name of the person shot and killed overnight at a house party in Dekalb County. His name, Antonio Hardrick. He is a 20-year-old, and he's one of 3 people shot at this home where you're looking at right now. This is Bluebird Lane. It's right off Columbia Drive, South Dekalb County, and detectives at this hour working to make any arrests. We haven't heard of any at this time. We can tell you 3 men were shot at that location during a party, including Hardrick, who is dead, and then 2 others have minor, or I should say moderate injuries. Moderate is the word police using at this hour. Those 2 men rushed to the hospital. The investigation at this hour is ongoing. Also this morning, we are waiting to hear from prosecutors in Hall County about whether or not they will drop charges against several teens charged in connection with the death of a beloved teacher, Jason Hughes, killed tragically on Friday night in the city. 11 Alive Stephanie Chaynock continues to follow this story and tells us the family is now the one asking for charges here to be dropped.
Yeah, and really all across the Gainesville community, the family asking for these charges to be dropped. I was in Gainesville on Monday and I spoke with some members of the community who say the situation is really heartbreaking for all families involved. The family of Hughes, a beloved teacher and coach at North Hall High School, and also the 5 teens now facing charges. The Hughes family breaking their silence on Monday, releasing a statement saying they don't want to see these teenagers face charges. They say Jason loved these students and they loved him too. Our family fully supports getting the charges dropped for all involved. This is a terrible tragedy and our family is determined to prevent a separate tragedy from occurring, ruining the lives of these students. This would be counter to Jason's lifelong dedication of investing in the lives of these children. Our colleagues tell 11 Alive Hughes was not only a math teacher but a leader in the community and a man of faith that mentored students and was loved deeply by everyone. He was 40 years old and leaves behind a wife and 2 sons. And now the 5 students involved are facing charges, including 18-year-old Jaden Wallace, the only teen charged with vehicular homicide. Now, the head of the North Hall football team, Coach Sean Pender, called Hughes a brother and says his absence has been felt immediately.
The influential and exhilarating speech right there before getting our guys fired up, and he would use the scripture to do it, and it was just an awesome thing to be a part of.
In that statement that was released Monday by the family, they also said that Hughes knew that these students were coming to his house to prank him and that he was actually waiting and excited to catch them in the middle of the prank. I'm Stephanie Chaynock, 11 Alive News.
All right, no doubt more to come on that story. And still to come after this short break. On the other side of this break, we have a live conversation here in person in the studio with the police chief of Chamblee as they are celebrating their new real-time crime center. We're digging into it all, what the technology will allow the department to do, what it means for you as a citizen. It's coming your way in just 2 minutes. You know, police departments across the country are turning to technology to try to fight crime faster, and the city of Chamblee doing just that too. They just opened a real-time crime center. I want to talk more about that now with the police chief of Chamblee, Mike Dieppe, joining us now in person in studio. Chief, it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so the city invested some $2 million in this real-time crime center. Why is that a good investment for residents?
It's a really good investment because this crime center helps us solve crimes and bring closure to victims of crimes in a more expeditious manner, and it acts as a force multiplier for our officers on the streets.
What do you mean force multiplier?
Force multiplier. So technology kind of lets us do things where a officer doing manual work would take maybe hours to go out and look for cameras and knock on doors to see if we could find cameras, where we have the chance to put a few cameras out in places where there are thoroughfares through the city that may allow us to capture vehicles and or subjects who are committing crimes. Also allows for a depository for if people want to share videos with us, they can be sent to us via email and analyzed in our crime center. And again, with the idea of helping us identify criminals and then going out and making arrests to bring closures to our victims.
In other words, people who live in Chamblee can send you their Ring doorbell video to try to help out?
That Ring doorbell cameras, their closed circuit TV cameras, businesses that have cameras set up in their shops, schools, anything like that, where there's a camera available, if they wanted to share, could share with us, and then we would use that to help us close the crime and then provide evidence to our district attorney's office to help prosecute those crimes.
Look, I know it's been widely reported. Nationwide, police department's been struggling with staffing really since COVID. How are you guys doing with staffing? And is this also an instance where the cameras can kind of help out?
We do. We have our peaks and valleys. We have about 4 vacancies for sworn officers right now, which is not a bad thing, but we'd like to be fully staffed. And when we don't have full staffing, the cameras provide us a resource, again, because they're an extra set of eyes out there. And a lot of things happen when no one's around, but the cameras may pick up something. We can go back and view camera footage because we keep the footage for 30 days.
30 days.
And
okay.
It's our video, so it's the property of Chamblee Police Department, and it'll allow us to go back and try to identify a perpetrator of a crime. It even helps with quality of life issues. If we're looking for somebody who had a medical emergency, or if there's somebody graffitiing in an area, that there's a camera that picks it up. We can see that right away.
How many people do you have working in this center?
Right now, there's only 2 people in there. It's not full time. It's staffed during the day.
Okay.
And it's we're in our infancy because we just opened last week. But we do hope to have 2 or 3 people in there, at least daytime into the afternoon hours, and in the beginning 4 or 5 days out of the week before we progress to hopefully 7 days a week, at least during peak times.
Are these going to be sworn officers, or is this a civilian job?
We're going to have a mix in there. We're having our sworn because they're able to get on the radio and transmit stuff via the radio, but we're going to bring in, we have currently one on staff, what we call an intelligence analyst. That's a non-sworn position, and that person is an expert in the computer programs that we'd use to identify criminals, do our social media searches, help us look for addresses, license plates, vehicles that belong to perpetrators, and then help us identify where they are so we can send our sworn people out to make the arrest.
I love geeking out over the granularity of this stuff with you, but I think people watching right now may want to know, okay, what does this mean for me? I mean, can you give us a real example of how the Real-Time Crime Center has maybe helped solve a crime, or how you hope it will?
Yes, there's a few examples, but one that comes to mind right away is we had a homicide in our city in 2024 at a Quick Trip, and right after the homicide happened, a person gave a vehicle description. We were quickly able to find the vehicle left in an area where it passed a license plate reader, which would feed into our real-time crime center. That license plate was then entered into a system, so if it went in areas where there were other license plate readers, we could see where the car was going. Following that license plate reader hit, even without the crime center, we're able to track the car down into East Point, quickly identify the subject, and within an hour of the homicide, make an arrest because of the mutual aid from our jurisdictions, but because of the technology, specifically license plate readers in this case, that allowed us to identify the vehicle, where it went, and where the offender fled to.
Big arrest, getting a violent criminal off the streets. How do you balance big moments like that with the privacy concerns that some citizens are weighing, saying they're worried about living in a surveillance state?
That's a really good question, and the answer is this, and it's a hard answer for some to feel, but I really believe that there's feelings involved in the few that do not like this because they perceive it to be a surveillance. The reality is that the rights of people who are the victims of crime deserve to have those crimes solved expeditiously. And this is a crime-solving tool. It's not a surveillance tool. We reran our analytics and we determined that 17 million cars pass by license plate readers in the city of Chamblee every month. It is impossible for us to try to conduct surveillance. However, if you specifically are the victim of a crime and you say that there's a red Toyota pickup truck, we can go back and isolate red Toyota pickup trucks, try to identify an offender, and again, bring closure to your crime. And that not only helps in crimes, but think about missing persons. Think about people who lose a loved one. If we can use that technology to generate leads and to help bring closure, it's a win for the community, and it's definitely a win for the victims of crimes.
There has also been nationwide concern over whether ICE or DHS can access some of the data that is captured by these license plate readers. Flock, which you guys use in Chamblee, they've said they do not sell or share data with ICE. They say it's communities who control whether the federal government can access that data. So does Chamblee share its license plate reader data with any federal government agency?
We do not. However, we would if we were asked. Our license plate reader data, our pan-tilt zoom cameras that are capturing live feeds, are ours. We follow state law, and if a federal partner or another law enforcement agency were to ask us for assistance, we would definitely provide it, as we would with the general public through an open records request. It's not like that we would say no to a citizen and say yes to ICE. We say yes to a citizen. We say yes to a federal partner or a local police agency as well. However, we control the data. And to this point, we've not had any requests where any federal agency has asked us for any of our data.
Okay, thank you for clarifying on that. Would that be a case-by-case basis, or if they come to you and ask for it, you say, absolutely, you've asked, we're giving it?
If a law enforcement partner comes to us with a law enforcement need, the going rule is that we would give it to them with no questions asked.
Let's say a year from now, we're sitting in here together talking about 1 year since the Real-Time Crime Center is open. What does success look like for you? How are you measuring it? Is it clearance rates? Is it a drop in crime? Something else?
For us, a safer community, all in all. So we'd like to see a drop in crime. Chamblee is an incredibly safe community as it is, but there are large-scale events coming to the city. The World Cup will be here in just a couple months, and it's, again, making the community feel safe in everything that we do. We host a lot of concerts and events throughout the year, and it provides us that opportunity to try to make the environment as safe as we can, using technology to identify threats and possibly neutralize them before they become action that harms our citizens.
All right, you mentioned the World Cup. It's about 90 days away now. Was it important to get this thing up and running by then? And what kind of conversations are going on behind the scenes when it comes to keeping your community safe?
It is. There's going to be a huge law enforcement contingent from around the state that will come to the Atlanta Police Department. We are only a partner agency to the bigger whole, but the meetings have been going on for months where we've been identifying where our needs are, where we can plug in and participate. And our city will also host events or have parties that are specific to the World Cup. And we want to make sure that anybody that goes to a large gathering in our city feels safe. And those cameras, again, help us see areas that we would not be able to see if we didn't have officers there. They're eyes and ears for us. And again, a tool to help us bring safety for our community.
Chief, I also want to ask about keeping your officers safe. And you've just unveiled a new defensive tactics training room also last week. Tell me what that's all about.
So we like to do defensive tactics training when we can. We didn't have a facility specifically designed for it. And this is a room that has mats in it that are a couple inches thick. So if we are taking each other down to the ground and doing different defensive tactics moves, we're able to do it without getting hurt. We unveiled the room, but we also did it with technology because our tasers that are from Axon have virtual reality. We can have basically a matted room that's enclosed. We have TV screens in there and can watch what's going on when we do different tactics. And even more so, we wear body cameras. And if we see things in the body cameras where there's deficiencies in training that we can identify, we'll bring in our entire staff or individual officers, show them on the TV screens where we think there's areas for improvement, let them see firsthand, and then show them techniques that are meant to improve their tactics out there, not only for their safety, but for the safety of the community when we're having to use force or engage in those use of force incidents.
Chief Diepa from Chamblee Police, really appreciate your time today answering all our questions. Anything else you want to add for folks watching?
Just thank you all for being here. If there's any questions, please feel free to come out and ask us. I think information, when you have it, will give you a better tool to make decisions about crime centers and technology police are using. But all in all, it's meant for the victims. It's meant to solve crimes. And if there are bad actors, it's the chief's job the department's job to hold those people accountable, discipline them, and fire them if they are using the cameras for anything other than their intended purpose.
When you say bad actors, you're talking about people who would have access to the system.
I'm talking about police officers or police personnel. If anybody were to do anything that's not intended for it, it's up to the department to hold those people accountable and make sure that they take action to remove those people from the department or from the profession.
Is there a log of who was searching through everything and their reasons why?
Very good question. Yes, there is a complete detailed log. So anytime somebody goes in and does a search, it leaves an audit trail, and you can see what they were searching, why they were searching, who was searching, and when they were searching, how many times they were searching. So if there's anything that's going on where somebody does something and we get a complaint, we could go back and audit every time that person used the cameras for what and what they were looking at.
Chief Dieppe, really appreciate the conversation. Fascinating stuff today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And we're back in just a couple minutes. You're watching 11Alive Plus. Hey, I hope you caught that interview we just had with the Chamblee Police Chief. That's a great thing about this show here in the Streaming Center is we can bring you extended, true conversations, not just, the 10, 15, 20-second sound bites. You get to hear it all from newsmakers here locally, and we're happy to bring you that important conversation when it comes to surveillance in the city of Chamblee and their new real-time crime center. If you missed it, you can catch it on YouTube. It'll be posted here in just minutes. But now let's get to some news, other news we are following of the day. And Reams, during that interview, you were also watching the administrator of the Small Business Administration, Kelly Loeffler, speaking.
Yes, former U.S. Senator from the state of Georgia was speaking moments ago on the Senate floor. Go ahead.
Here in Georgia, right?
Here in Georgia at the Georgia Senate. Sessions underway. We've been following those feeds as well. Going to go ahead and play back some of the, she just finished speaking. We'll go ahead and play back that sound in full for you.
Okay.
Greatly appreciated. Ms. Kelly Loeffler.
Oh, wow. Thank y'all. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you. Wow. What a wonderful way to start the day with dear friends and great leaders. Thanks for hosting me, Lieutenant Governor. It's a true honor to be with each and every one of you. And obviously just grateful to be back in Georgia when I can be. Lieutenant Governor asked me what I was doing in town, and I said, I live here. But in all seriousness, I wanted to come and thank you all for the work you're doing. I know you've just come out of a crossover day, and now the heat is on. And I'm someone who, as part of the Trump administration, we all understand a sense of urgency. We have such a moment in time here with this administration, both at the state level and the federal level, to do incredible things for our hardworking constituents, our retirees, our military, our young people. So first of all, thank you for what you're doing for this state to increase affordability through tax cuts, to drive a skilled workforce. I see that need across the country everywhere I go. By the end of this week, I will have been in 15 states already this year. And thank you for your work in continuing to advocate for Georgians. It's so important locally. I'm excited that my great friend and colleague, Brooke Rollins, USDA Secretary, will be here this morning. We'll be doing a little press conference. And later this week, my friend Doug Collins, the Veterans Secretary, will be here talking about his great work. And I've been grateful to partner with both of them in Washington. But look, as I travel across the country, I see the same thing that I see here in Georgia, which is the Trump administration's agenda is working, and we see it not just in the numbers. You all hear the numbers, you talk about the numbers, but I have the distinct honor and blessing of seeing the stories. And I was so grateful to be with President Trump when he came to Rome. Many of you saw the great rally he did in Rome at a small business, Cusa Steel. And I was so glad that he got to see firsthand the way that his policies are working for local job creators, and not just small businesses, but our manufacturers. When you think about what small business is made up of, it's our manufacturers. 90% of them in America meet the small business definition. And so Andrew Seville, the owner of Cusa Steel, has said that now, thanks to the fair trade, to tariffs, to the tax cuts, he's gone from a single shift a couple days a week to 2 shifts 6 days a week. You see the demand for hiring. I see it in Prince Manufacturing, Eric Williams in Macon, Georgia. He's doubling his workforce from 500 to 1,000 by the end of the year. He's going to double the size of his factory. I mean, this is happening in state after state. And I have traveled from Alaska to California to Maine to Florida, and I've seen it everywhere. And so this economic agenda is one that I'm so proud to stand behind and support for small businesses. It's working family tax cuts that are going to put $10,000 in take-home pay, thanks to not paying it out to the government. Remember, every single Democrat in Washington, including Georgia's 2 senators, voted to impose a $4 trillion tax cut on hardworking Americans and job creators and retirees. And so this is why the work you do is so important, to fight for those back home. Now, I will tell you, as we come out of Biden-era inflation, Bidenomics, rolling back trillions of dollars of regulation that were imposed over the last 4 years of the Biden administration, the SBA has a really unique role in advancing the entire agenda. Right now, the SBA in Georgia, as of last year, we had lent $1.8 billion to Georgia small businesses. I'm incredibly proud of that number. We put out over $6 billion in disaster recovery funds. One of my first acts as the administrator last year was to extend the relief for Hurricane Helene after the Biden administration neglected to fund disaster relief. And I want to thank my disaster recovery administrator, Chris Stallings, who is back here in the room, for his tireless work on behalf of Georgians, and we'll be talking more about that today. So I'm going to just conclude with saying thank you for keeping Georgia the best place in the country to do business for the 12th consecutive year. Congratulations. I am so humbled to be here with you today, to be able to thank you, and may God bless you, and may God bless Georgia. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Former U.S. Senator and current Small Business Administration Administrator Kelly Loeffler speaking there, the Georgia State Senate floor beneath the Gold Dome. And she'll be holding a news conference a little later, we have learned through our political reporter Zach Merchant, at 12:30 today on the north steps of the Capitol. They are talking about block grant and rural prosperity. So plenty more to come on that. We're also understanding that Governor Brian Kemp will be there along with a few other dignitaries for that news conference. We're back in just a few minutes. You are watching 11Alive Plus. Great to be with you on this Tuesday morning. Back with you live for 30 more minutes here from the 11Alive Streaming Center. We're going to take you back to the Dekalb County Commissioners meeting happening right now. It is public comment, and already this morning we've been hearing from some people talking about data centers and also some animal shelter advocates as they discuss the funding for that. So let's listen in to the Commissioners meeting.
This is multi-year contract for use by the Department of Facilities Management, Recreation, Parks and Cultural Affairs, Public Works Transportation, Public Works Road and Drainage, Watershed Management, and Planning and Sustainability. These contracts consist of providing geotechnical and geoenvironmental evaluations for the engineering, constructability, and or potential environmental risk of multiple sites throughout the county. This request seeks to ratify previously issued purchase orders in the amount of $56,148.82 for contract 1258333. This request further seeks to increase contract funds for Department Watershed Management, NPNS, awarded to Matrix Engineering Group Incorporated, Corporate Environmental Risk Management, LLC, Accurate Engineering and Consulting Services, Inc., and United Consulting Group, Ltd. Total amount not to exceed $436,148.82.
Move for action.
That was a mouthful. Item 2026-0327, all commission districts, change order number 1 to contract number 1358690, Cloud Solutions and Services for use by Finance, Office of Management and Budget, and the Department of Innovation and Technology. This contract consists of purchasing off the competitively let statewide contract to purchase OpenGov software for budget development, management, reporting, and transparency. This request seeks to increase contract funds for continued use of OpenGov software awarded to Carasoft Technology Corp., amount not to exceed $413,451.
Move for action.
We are now at the top of page 10. Item 2026-0328, all commission districts, change order number 3 to contract number 2000207, network professional services and monitoring, annual contract with 4 options to renew for use by the Department of Innovation and Technology. This contract consists of providing managed network services and maintenance support for the countywide voice and data network. This request seeks to increase the contract's term through to September 30th, 2026, and funds awarded to MGT Impact Solutions LLC, amount not to exceed $491,450.13.
Move for action.
Item 2026-0391, all commission districts, change order.
The DeKalb County Board of Commissioners meeting still going on. We'll be dipping in if anything of note jumps out to us in the next half hour. But now, on to this. On this day in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell made the very first telephone call. He famously called his assistant and said, "Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you." That was 150 years ago, and my, how things have changed. Let's talk about it all with Scott Combs. You see here, archivist with AT&T, helping preserve the history of how that moment really launched the communications revolution. And Scott, we are still living through it today. Good morning to you, sir.
Yes, Dan. Good morning to you.
It's great to have you. Let's start with that moment in 1876. What actually happened during that first phone call?
Yeah, in 1876, Alexander Graham Bell, in a set of apartments in Boston, Massachusetts, was working with his assistant, Thomas Watson. And they were trying to be able to send voice communications across a wire, any type of wire, like a telegraph wire. And here we have, in this case, we have 3 objects that pertain to that very first phone call on March 10th, 1876. In the back, you see that this telephone patent, this was issued to Alexander Graham Bell on March 7th, 1876, 3 days before that phone call. In the box here, you'll see it's the coiled wire that Thomas Watson saved from that day. And this carried the very first voice communications, electrical voice communications. And then the pride of the archives, which is Thomas Watson's notebook, where he documented the first words that were ever sent across a wire. And those words were, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want you."
Where exactly is that pop-up museum located, Scott?
Yes, we're at AT&T headquarters in the Discovery District in downtown Dallas.
Very good. You know, you clearly you're surrounded by this history of communication there. When you think back on 150 years from how things started to this little thing we all have in our pockets these days, is there one moment that stands out to you as being the biggest leap forward?
There's several moments that are a big leap forward, but in essence, it's really, though, an accumulative, decade by decade, research, development, and innovation to get where we are today. I mean, AT&T is a very forward-looking company, and we have continued to do that. And if you look at our past, we're always trying to strive to get the best customer service, and we're trying to broaden our network to serve those customers.
All right, we've talked about the past. Let's look ahead to the future. AI, automation. I mean, what's the future of communication look like in your mind?
Future communication, I mean, today you notice the way we, $250 billion investment in the company. We are once again just looking to the future. We're trying to expand the network to try to reach out to all the customers that want to use our services.
Scott Combs, archivist with AT&T. It's a fascinating story thinking back 150 years ago to Alexander Graham Bell. We appreciate you helping us tell it.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. All right, we are going to take a quick break, and we are still watching feeds from around the nation. We will get to some of those coming up in just a few minutes. 10:40 on this Tuesday morning. You're watching 11Alive Plus from here in our streaming center. Reams, we built this place out so that we could watch just about everything going on everywhere.
Pretty
here
much.
at home, nationwide, worldwide. It's been a big week for that, and you got some local feeds, right?
Yeah, the big thing we're following right now is out of Dekalb County, the Board of Commissioners discussing a bunch of things. Earlier in the 9 o'clock hour, we heard from, and in the beginning of the 10, we heard from people speaking against data centers, speaking for more funding for animal shelters. Right now, they are discussing we're talking a nearly $1 million contract for janitorial services. They're also discussing with this a multi-million-dollar, $22 million funding plan for animal enforcement services, for animal shelter operations. It's going to ratify a previous contract and rate increases. A lot of viewers are speaking on that. We're tracking that right now, waiting for it to happen. Also following a lot of live feeds from around the world as well as we look live over Lebanon, more smoke coming up there after ongoing strikes around the region, and the stock market coming up.
It's in the green, first time today.
It's a big flip in the last 45 minutes.
Nothing like yesterday's flip, an 1,100-point swing, starting off with a huge sell-off and ending the day in the positive, as a lot of people, Reams, still uncertain of which direction this war is going to go, what it means for oil and gas prices here at home.
Exactly. A lot of questions still remaining. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of lawmaking here in North Carolina.
Georgia.
Sorry,
Reams lived in Charlotte for a while. He spent some time in Florida, but now
we've been around.
You're
the
in the
block.
Peach State, my friend.
My apologies. I was looking at an interview earlier today with the Attorney General from Georgia. But let's go ahead and get to Georgia's State Senate. Live feeds here. They've been discussing a plethora of things. We brought you Kelly Loeffler's statements a few minutes ago. Let's see what they're discussing now.
It's okay. I have a feeling we're gonna we'll see how we go.
No. Just briefly, he was super dismissive of trying to. He was pretty tight-lipped about it. Let me run down there and see if there are any more Republicans. Who? The cost? Is it?
Well, I think he's basically agreeing with the
They're starting to run for somebody.
Yeah. All right. Bring him this way, Maddie.
All right, well, nothing happening on the floor right now, so thanks for hanging with us as we work to bring you some more content. We're going to update you on what's going on worldwide. 7 Americans now killed in the war in Iran. Questions over how long this would last, and we're getting mixed signals from the president yesterday over the answer to just that. Let's get more from NBC's Alice Barr in Washington.
Hi there. President Trump is now calling the war with Iran a short-term excursion. Asked how that squares with his defense secretary saying it's only just beginning, the president argued both can be true, that the military is achieving its objectives while he hopes it's the beginning of building a new Iran. The 7th American service member killed in action in the war with Iran is now home. Vice President J.D. Vance overnight saluting Army Sergeant Benjamin Pennington, who died Sunday from wounds suffered in an Iranian strike on an air base in Saudi Arabia on March 1st. 9 days later, President Trump saying the war may be winding down.
It's going to be ended soon.
Even as he warned of larger strikes if Iran further restricts the critical oil route, the Strait of Hormuz.
We'll take them out so quickly, they'll never be able to recover, ever.
The war has choked off traffic through the strait. That, paired with strikes on oil sites across the region, sending gas prices soaring here at home.
To fill it up, it brought an extra $15, $20 on the tank.
President Trump telling NBC News by phone that people have talked about the U.S. seizing Iranian oil, but saying he didn't want to discuss it now. He did weigh in on Iran choosing a new supreme leader, the hardline son of the Ayatollah killed in the initial U.S.-Israeli strikes.
I was disappointed because we think it's going to lead to just more of the same problem for the country.
And amid new video of what weapons experts say is a U.S. Tomahawk missile that likely struck an area near an Iranian elementary school at the start of the war, killing 170 people. President Trump again asserting without evidence that Iran could have fired the missile.
The Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries.
Experts say in this conflict, only the U.S. has that munition. The president adding it's under investigation. There are growing concerns now that rising oil prices will increase costs for plane tickets and for goods shipped by truck like food, clothing, furniture. President Trump adamant the oil industry will be more secure in the long run, for now offering to escort oil tankers and provide risk insurance for companies willing to try. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
When it comes to gas prices, according to AAA right now, nationwide, we are paying an average of $3.54. That is up about 43 cents in 1 week. Yes, all eyes on gas prices. Last week, we had an expert here on the show talking about what it means for Atlanta, saying we might have even hit the worst of it last week in our area around Metro Atlanta. We're going to have that same expert on a little later this week. Looking forward to his analysis, what he's seeing in gas prices, when potentially oil could start passing through the Strait of Hormuz, and if he thinks it's time for the U.S. to start tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to try to get some of these prices under control. But now let's get back to the Georgia State Senate floor, where we do have some speakers. Let's listen in.
Some rural communities. Our abilities now to put students through our medical school in 3 years and have them serve underserved Georgia. The dollars and the people that we put forth in South Georgia and other places where we really have underserved, unavailable health care. It's going to take a village, to say the least, to solve this problem, but I will tell you it's going to come out of this House for that ultimately to occur. And I want to applaud all of you for at least taking the time to listen and understand that we've got citizens in our state who do not have access to adequate health care. We, the physicians, want to be the vehicle by which that health care is delivered. But we've got to find a way amongst all of us to economically and physically make that happen in places where there are no hospitals, counties where we have no physicians at all. And it's just a monumental task in front of us. I think we bite it off one bite at a time. We'll ultimately solve it for our citizens. But from a humble heart to you, the senators in this room, I want to thank and applaud all of you for what you do for our citizens and for the health care. Thank you.
All right, that is the Georgia Senate floor. Not much happening there right now. We're going to take a quick break. You are watching 11Alive Plus. We're back in just a couple minutes. Well, this morning, some Atlanta Hawks fans waking up a bit frustrated after the NBA canceled Magic City Mondays. Did you hear about this? I mean, they had sweatshirts printed and everything. It was going to be next Monday when the Hawks hosted who else? The Orlando Magic. And, of course, we all know, well, we've all heard of Magic City, right? Right? Anybody in the gallery?
Right.
It's a local iconic club here in Atlanta, a gentleman's club, but a club nonetheless. The Hawks said the night was meant to celebrate one of the city's most iconic cultural institutions, but then the event went viral. It got some backlash online, including from Luke Cornett of the San Antonio Spurs, who said in a blog post that the league needs to create a respectful atmosphere for women and girls. And that got traction. It got around to the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, who yesterday released a statement saying that the league heard significant concerns from fans, partners, and employees, and the NBA decided to shut the night down. Check out these sweatshirts we're talking about here. Those will still be available to people who pre-ordered them. Yes, the game's still going on. They might even still have the lemon pepper wings that are famously served at the club and that were supposed to be served up that night at the game. T.I. still set to perform at halftime. So, I mean, it's still going to be a good time for anybody going to the game, just not going to be branded as Magic City Monday. We did talk to some fans who were disappointed to hear the news, but including Janisha Knowlton. She actually surprised her husband with tickets to the game for him and his friends. Let's listen in.
If we approved it, we've been promoting it for weeks, and now we're saying we're canceling it because there's backlash where we didn't think about that beforehand. And it's like, again, a lot of people bought those tickets. The game is on a Monday. It's a work night, so a lot of people bought those tickets specifically for the promotions.
As for the Atlanta Hawks, they say they are disappointed, but they are respecting the league's decision, adding they remain committed to celebrating Atlanta with authenticity. And Reams, I think that's just it. As we bring you both sides of this story, a lot of people said that this was authentic to Atlanta, but then, I mean, you know, Luke brought up some good points too.
You know, there's always three sides to the story.
That's right.
I mean, that is also the podcast they're apparently going to be taping, featuring T.I. and Mr. Magic, I believe, has been canceled. So there was like a separate ticket for that podcast taping that, believe it right, the Hawks will be reaching out to those who purchase those tickets to refund them, or to sort out what they're going to do about that.
Yeah.
But it is joined a pantheon of, as our Jonathan Raymond, just going to quote our Jonathan Raymond on Twitter here last night, Magic City Night merch instantly joins the 2020 Final Four 2021 MLB All-Star Game on Atlanta's Mount Rushmore of merch for events that never happened.
Yeah.
These sweatshirts that we've been talking about, $125 a piece. Pre-orders, get them. I mean, we were talking in the last hour, $500?
I think you check eBay this time next week, you'll find those going for $500.
Well, folks, come back this time next.
We should check it live on air
next week. We'll check it live on air. Oh.
Okay. Let's get to some breaking news out of Beirut, Lebanon. I believe this is Lebanon, right, Reams?
Yes.
It looks like a strike has just occurred. We've been watching a number of strikes there as Israel's been targeting Hezbollah with some targeted strikes there. Lebanon really been hit hard in this war with Iran. And Gabby, can you look up what time it is there for me? We're going to check just how far ahead they are there. We also have the stock market there below as we wait to see how markets might react to news of yet another strike in Lebanon. The skies there have been hazy for days, and now more smoke filling the air. Gabby tells us just before 5 p.m. there, so about to hit 5 o'clock there. As folks are coming home from work, they are getting settled in their apartment buildings. You know, we've seen a lot of these high rises targeted, and I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal just yesterday saying a lot of people are fleeing high rises with families, and not just there, but also in Dubai, as they seek safety as this war rages on, Reams.
Yes. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth spoke in the 8 o'clock hour along with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, saying that today will be the, quote, most intense day of U.S. strikes. We do not know who is responsible for these strikes. We just know that this is a strike that happened moments ago, that we are bringing you live, thanks to our partners on the ground there. The Defense Secretary is saying this will be the most intense day. Tehran has unleashed its own waves of attacks against Israel and the Gulf. Again, we don't know who just launched this most recent attack, but this is the latest in a series of smoke plumes and debris plumes that we have seen over this specific live shot in the last few days.
It is true. We don't yet know who was responsible for this particular strike, as you were looking live, if you're just now joining us in Beirut, Lebanon. Although we can tell you, for some context, over the last few days, Israel has been launching airstrikes across Lebanon as they are strategically trying to target the Lebanese group Hezbollah, using this opportunity during the war to attack Hezbollah and some of its militants. But I mean, how surgical do you have to be in a city like this to try to attack one militant group in a city filled with many innocents who are likely also getting hurt and killed? And that has been the story of much of this war as well. That breaking news just coming in within the last couple minutes. We saw the smoke, and we brought you the images live. Another airstrike as you look live over Lebanon. More to come on that war in just about 60 seconds on 11Alive Midday. More from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth this morning. What he said. Reams just brought you some of his comments, but what it could mean for the future of the war and the U.S.'s participation in the war in Iran. Also, more news coming for you this morning. It's election day for that special election to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're going to have a live report from a precinct in Dekalb County. It is a long list of folks who are running. It is a special election, meaning they will only be in place for a few months. So more on that. Also, more on the beloved teacher in Hall County.